Okay, hello and welcome. For today, we are going to discuss this uh, obedience, obedience, part 3 of chapter 6. In this session, we'll discuss obedience, cultural attitude to obedience, obedience training of human beings, how obedience helps to be trained within the human population, experimental studies of human obedience, the Stanford Prison Experiment. In the next session, we'll discuss these prejudice, stereotypes, and discrimination. So obedience is a form of social influence where individual acts in response to a direct order from individual who is usually an authority figure. Therefore, the person giving order has higher status than the person receiving the order. So schools have a system of order and authority. We begin working, most of us, for a company or an office or an organization with all levels of management who we must be obedient to. So the main difference between obedience and conformity is that in obedience there is difference in status between the person giving order and the person receiving order, or the person giving order and the person receiving order. So there are cultural attitudes to obedience. So culture constitutes obedience to authority. Obedience is regarded as a virtue in many traditional cultures. Children have been expected to be obedient to their elders. In some Christian weddings, for instance, obedience was formally included along with honors and love as part of a conventional bride's wedding vow. Uh, obedience is obedience, for instance, giving respect and honor and love is written in vow, in Christian weddings vow. Obedience training of human beings. Some animals, especially dogs, can be easily trained to be obedient by employing operant conditioning, classical conditioning. For example, obedience schools exist to condition dogs to obey the orders of human owners. So learning to obey adult rules is a major part of the socialization process. The main goal of socialization is to make young generation obedient to society's rules. Many techniques are used by adults to modify the behavior of children. So extensive training is given in armies to make soldiers capable of these obeying orders. So this extensive training is part of this norm. Experimental studies of human obedience. So there are different experimental studies of human obedience investigating. The main goal of these studies is to investigate these individuals to comply with authority figures, even though it conflicts with their personal conscience. So the famous experimental study in this area is this Milgram's obedience experiment, where participants were instructed to administer what they believed were electric shocks to another person. So despite this visible signs of distress from learner, many participants continued to deliver shocks under authority figures' command. So Milgram's findings revealed that ordinary people are surprisingly likely to follow orders from authority, even though to the extent of causing harm, highlighting this the influence of social situational factors. የማናምንበትንም ነገር እናደርጋለን። ለምሳሌ አንድ ወታደር ከኮሎኔል ከላይ የሚመጣለትን ኦርደር ይቀበላል። ያንን ነገር ባያምንበትም ማለት ነው። ግን በኮንፎርሚቲ ሰዎች ሳይጠይቁን ምንም የስቴተስ ወይም የማዕረግ ልዩነት ሳይኖር የምናደርገው ነው። ሁለት አይነት ኮንፎርሚቲ አለ። we have seen two types of conformity, informational conformity or informational social influence and normative social influence. But obedience is regarded based on these differences in authority or status. These studies have significant implications for understanding behavior in the context of all workplace institutions. The Stanford Prison Experiment is one example of these studies. It aims how people conform to roles of guard and prisoners in a simulated prison environment. So college students were randomly assigned to be either guards or prisoners. So the study lasted 2 weeks but was stopped after only 6 days due to the extreme and abusive behavior of guards and the emotional breakdowns of some prisoners. So this experiment demonstrated the powerful influence of situational factors, social roles on behavior, showing how ordinary people can engage in cruel actions when placed in positions of power within dehumanizing context. So these are some of the self-assessment questions. What is a key finding of Milgram's obedience experiment? Explain the difference between this obedience and conformity in your own words. Comprehension. A soldier follows an order from their commanding officer, even though they personally disagree with it. This is an example of how might cultural norms regard questioning authority influence the likelihood of obedience in a given society. So thank you for this.